Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Thursday, June 10th, 2021. I'm David Menzies, and well, my co-host, as always, on Tuesdays and Thursdays is, well, let me describe this lady this way. If she were a midway, she is the 5 coupon ride. That's numero uno. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I don't know how I feel about being called a 5-ticket ride, but you know,
that's the ultimate carny compliment.
I guess once you get to a certain age, though, you just take compliments however you find them. You just don't turn them down. Beggars can't be choosy. David,
yes.
I'm very glad to be on the air with you today. Our Tuesdays and Thursdays, hour-long and then some chats are the funnest things that I do all week at work. And I do a lot of fun things, but this is truly my favorite.
I agree, and it never seems like an hour. And a big part of that has to go, I think, to our viewers, Sheila, who chime in sometimes with such great witticisms in terms of what's going on and what we're saying. So, as the old chestnut goes, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Right. And unlike the mainstream media, we like to interact with the people who watch us. We
right.
like to hear from them. We like to hear a little bit of feedback about what we're doing well and what you don't like that we do. For example, some of you prefer Ezra on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because sometimes he's a little more intense than David and I are, for lack of a better word. But David and I like to have a little fun on Tuesdays and Thursdays because, you know, the world is so serious. News is serious. We're working with serious issues every single day. The lockdown is hard on people. And sometimes it's fun just to have a little fun with the news.
Oh, 100%. And I love Ezra's show. I mean, listen, Ezra is
Me
next
too.
level,
I'm
Sheila.
a faithful watcher.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and his show yesterday where he analyzed all the post media front pages yesterday, that begging, groveling letter and finger wagging at Justin Trudeau, basically, oh, you better bail us out like you promised to, Mr. Prime Minister. It was, I mean, you can see it on it's archived, these live streams. If you can go and check out Ezra's analysis, it is just fantastic. No, Ezra, if we were the 1980s Edmonton Oilers, Ezra is Wayne Gretzky. You and me, we're kind of like the BJ McDonald's of that team, you know. We're 40 goal scorers only because we're on the Ezra Levent line. Mr. Producer says Sheila might be, but I definitely am not. Let's see, who was the worst member of the 1980s Oilers? That's maybe me.
No, you've got a very special place on the team, and you're more of the Semenko. I think you're the Dave Semenko of it all.
Well, he was the enforcer. I'll take that as a compliment. I would. I think in a hockey fight, I would crumble like a house of cards, Sheila.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Producer says maybe the equipment manager. You know what? I'll take it. There you go. Mm-hmm. I can wear one of those polo shirts with the logo on the side. Make me look important, you know. And let's not forget how important equipment managers were. Speaking of an ex-Oiler, Marty McSorley, if he hadn't used that illegal curved stick in Game 2 of the 1993 Stanley Cup Finals when he was with the LA Kings against Montreal, the Kings would have gone on to win the Stanley Cup. I'm absolutely sure about that. So there you go. Mr. Producer, thank you for indicating how important the equipment manager is.
Should we tell everybody what we're doing here before we get
it's not hockey talk with Sheila and Dave.
We're just getting right off the rails into 80s and 90s professional sports, which is about when I stopped watching professional sports, by the way. Anyways, this is the Rebel Daily News live stream. It's on Monday through Friday for an hour at noon Eastern Standard or 10 a.m. out here in God's country in Alberta. As your host, as I mentioned, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, David and I host Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it gives our viewers a chance to interact with each other. If you are on the censorship platform of YouTube, there's a live chat there. Also over on Odyssey, I think there's a live chat there as well. On Super you can find us, and they have something called a Super You Shout, where you can engage in the back and forth live chat, where you can find what you like about YouTube on other platforms that don't hate you and don't hate conservatives. And you can also find us on Rumble. And if you are on Odyssey, you can do something akin to the old YouTube super chat before they decided to demonetize us completely. You can leave us, I think it's called a hyper chat, and you just have to purchase some of Odyssey's library cryptocurrency. And I'm sorry, I still don't understand cryptocurrency, but if you'd like to give us some, you can do that on Odyssey. You can send us I think it's called a hyper chat, and you can give us some library cryptocurrency to keep us going here at Rebel News, because we will never take a penny from Justin Trudeau. We're not like Post Media, where they got a bailout and then a year later they're like, hey, we still suck and we need more money. We didn't do anything to fix the problems that precipitated the first bailout. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Yeah.
That's their business model these days.
Yeah, the media party has become the print version of Bombardier, I guess, Sheila. But, and that terrifies me, the fact that you don't understand cryptocurrencies, because you are much smarter than me, Sheila. And if you don't understand it, I am completely ignorant. I mean, and then again, ignorance is bliss. I don't know what that means, but I'm happy. I like what you just said. We don't hate you when it comes to Super U, Odyssey, and Rumble. That should be their slogan, right? We don't hate you. Come on in, right?
Yeah. We don't care about your political beliefs. We don't hate your guts, and we don't want to censor you. So again, friends, if you are finding us on YouTube, because that's how we're using YouTube these days, as a great place for people to introduce themselves to us and us to introduce ourselves to the world. But if you find us there, take that off ramp to one of those platforms that isn't going to take all your data, sell it, and then boot you right off the platform. Why don't you head over to one of those other platforms that, is glad to have you?
Absolutely. And Sheila, I'm looking at our list. It's depressing, it's dire, it's bad news, it's horrible news. Except for one piece. It's your story on victory for the wild archery people. So why don't we start off on a positive note for a chance? Why don't we show that you can fight the man and win? And I'm so happy for these people. I think we have some video footage, and if Mr. Producer can run that, we'll weigh in right after.
Was tossed out of court thanks to Chad making Justin Watson from Wild Archery the very first I will open fight the fines business to turn into a win for civil liberties. So I excitedly hurried off yesterday to Wild Archery to talk to Justin about the good news. Take a listen.
I was informed last week that all charges were withdrawn. So that's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, what were the amounts of your tickets again?
It was only one, because the police that were in here afterwards refused to ticket me, which is nice. Thanks, EPS. Bylaw, not so nice, but whatever. But it was about $1,250. So, but yeah, it was the only reason that I didn't get more was because EPS refused.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that our Fight the Fines program is helping some small business owners like yourself. I mean, these are very trying times, especially when you're trying to run retail and do something which I think is completely socially distant.
Yes.
And run the lanes.
Yep. Yeah. It's a very socially distant thing. If people want to be, we've got lots of room out there. People can choose to be as far away from people as they want, but that's not good enough, I guess.
Yeah, and like we're standing in the enormous retail side of your archery lanes, but you have committed quite a bit of a very expensive commercial retail space or commercial space to having the lanes that you can't use, and you're still paying rent on that side of the building.
Yeah, It's over half of my space. It's about 2,300 square feet, and that is unusable. I'm still paying rent on it, still paying utilities, but whatever.
And last time I was here, you pointed something out to me that you can have, a certain percentage of people in here based on square footage, but that has to sit completely empty because apparently coronavirus will get you if you pick up a bow and an arrow, but if you come over here and just look at arrows, it's fine.
Yeah, and I've asked my AHS inspector about that, why I can have 15 or 20 people hanging out over here, all lined up at the counter here and browsing and whatnot, but I can't have one person going over there. And her response was, well, the government makes the rules, I'm just doing my job.
I don't believe this would give you 6 feet. If you can't wear a mask because you feel it's strenuous work,
it's dangerous.
You have to be.
It's not strenuous, it's dangerous.
Okay.
So
just because no one is wearing masks, we would need some sort of partition,
okay,
or I would go every.
Who do I send the bill to then?
So if you choose to open, that would be on.
No, but it's not that I choose to open, it's you choose to close me.
Yeah, there are.
So who do I send the bill to?
So I don't know, but there are funds from the government for some additional services.
The great thing is I'm not eligible for anything.
Okay.
Okay. So by you coming in here and doing this, you're shutting me down. I'm going to lose.
Shutting you down.
Yeah, you are.
You are,
because this is 80% of my business right now is the lanes.
Okay.
Okay. Because so if you're shutting this down, you're shutting me down. I might as well just close everything up, go home, get rid of the house, get rid of my car, get rid of everything, because that's what's going to happen because of you people and your absolute despicable choices. The government, the media, you people, everything. It's garbage.
Okay, and I can't imagine as a small business owner.
No, you can't.
There are some supports available.
But I'm not eligible for any of them.
Okay, and I don't know enough about.
I've applied for all of them, and the government has said no.
Okay, well, unfortunately, the way right now in a pandemic, it's kind of for the greater public good.
Now, you also, we were talking off camera that.
Yeah, I love that bylaw enforcement, Karen, Sheila. I can't imagine what it's like to be a small business owner. Of course you can't, because you're a bureaucrat that gets annual wage top-ups, a pension, a severance, like you name it, gold-plated benefits, and so on. But she did get one thing right. Government makes the rules, and Sheila, an archery range, I see that as so Albertan. It's such an Alberta thing. So again, maybe I sound like a broken record here. What in blue blazes is Premier Kenney thinking?
This is one of those cases where it's one of those things that's made for you, right? I don't like stupid government rules. I hate the lockdown, and I love archery. And I love small business owners who are ready to fight the man. So this case was made for me. So I was really happy to find out that Justin's ticket got tossed, because the government has the retail side of the store. He can crowd in people there. I think it's now up to 30% of his fire code capacity he can get in there. But up until today, the archery lanes were closed because it was too dangerous to test your bow on that side where nobody can stand around you for safety purposes. That was dangerous, but lining up on the other side to buy bows and buy arrows or have your bow tuned, that was perfectly fine. It didn't make any sense, and he had dedicated so much of this enormous commercial space to the lanes that Justin was losing his shirt. He was just going broke because that's how he was making his money. I mean, the retail side was there sort of for convenience. You were there using the lanes. You need arrows. You need some, you need your bow tuned. You need it restrung, whatever. He was there to provide that service. But really the side where he was making his money was on the lanes. And he couldn't do that because some government Karen said, this is too dangerous. And I don't know if you heard that there, but she said, if you are going to use the lanes, because for a time you could only use the lanes in a one-on-one capacity. So instead of somebody like me, familiar with archery, just wants to go in there because it's -40 and shoot some arrows, the only way that someone like me, who's familiar with archery, could go in to use the lanes was if Justin was there helping me directly, like as a trainer helping me. So instead of me going by myself and exposing nobody to my cooties, I would have to expose Justin directly to my cooties just so that I could use his service. And it didn't make any sense. And then the Karen there said, well, why aren't the people who you're training, why aren't they wearing masks? I don't know if you've ever seen, maybe on my Twitter account, I have a picture of myself using my compound bow. But you have to pull your strings up to like the hollow of your cheek. That's where you have to hold and release. So imagine I've got, for me, 50 pounds of draw weight. I'm holding it back here and I let go and it could like rip my ear off if it hits my mask. But yeah, so see,
look at
like
that.
that's me. So you have to hold in the hollow of your cheek. And so if you're wearing a mask to use the lanes, I can rip my ear off my face if it catches my mask. And yet this is what Alberta Health Services wants someone like Justin to do just so that his lanes are quote unquote safe.
That looks like a serious bow and arrow, Sheila.
It is.
I mean, let me just scratch off the list any potential home invasion of the Gunn Reid residents. It's like that tagline for the old Western. They came for gold, they got lead instead. But Sheila, getting back to wild archery, I just want to get some clarity here. Why you're going to shut down the man, and so thousands and thousands of businesses coast to coast have been shut down, and they have qualified for assistance. What was the ostensible policy reason why he couldn't get some kind of assistance to pay the bills?
He just fell through the cracks because of the niche way that he operates. He just doesn't qualify for some of the stuff that, personal care businesses get or personal trainers get. He just, because of the nature of his business, he just fell completely through the cracks. But that's what happens when the government does these things to shut down everybody without taking into consideration the uniqueness of everybody's business. So again, I was very excited to hear that this was our first defiant business owner who stood up to the government, and then quickly enforcement, as you saw, came and got him. But we worked really hard with Chad Williamson, to get that ticket tossed out. And so he's a Fight the Fines, I Will Open win, the first of its kind in the entire country. And I'm very proud of Justin, and I'm proud that it was something that I personally am so passionate about. So it was great. Well, and thank you. Sorry, before we go on, I want to thank everybody who donated to help Justin secure this win. I don't think everybody at home realizes that sure, you're helping people financially fight their lockdown tickets in court, but the moral support means a lot too. These business owners often feel like they're alone, that they're fighting this big, huge, enormous government, and they're just a little guy. And the moral support means a lot to the people in Fight the Fines, to know that we're all cheering for them and we're all willing to help them stand up and fight. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and your money obviously was put to well use in terms of this victory. And just one quick thing. I mean, it's outrageous to me that he fell through the cracks as a business for whatever crazy bureaucratic reason. It is a bona fide business. He's not pulling a scam to game the system. No. So shame on the federal government for that. But once again, just for absolute clarity, Sheila, in the case of wild archery, what was it that our wonderful Calgary lawyer Chad used? What was it that got him off this $1,200 fine?
Well, you can see the video that we did on it. But Chad just challenged the validity of the issuance of the fine. And that's something that is a lot easier to do when you have a lawyer working for you instead of just a layman. So that's what Chad did. And that's why I think Fight the Fines is so important. Again, it's very difficult to navigate the legal system if you're just a small business owner. And I'm not saying that you're not intelligent enough to do it, but you've got other worries. Yeah. Let us deal with the worries. Let us deal with the technicalities of fighting your lockdown ticket in court. And you just go back to running your business and doing your life as best you can. And again, the victory for Justin at Wild Archery, it speaks to the importance of Fight the Fines, because, I think things could have gotten a lot worse for Justin also if Chad Williamson didn't get involved, because the other mechanisms of municipal government were starting to come after him because he refused to close, much the way that they began pulling liquor licenses and health permits for restaurants. They were doing sort of the same thing with him, and they continue to do some of that, but we're still involved here with building permits. So, this is why it's important to make sure that you have somebody helping you fight these things.
100%. And Chad is so good, isn't he, Sheila? He's so smart. And it brings to mind a phrase our boss, Ezra, has said on occasion: there is nothing more expensive than a cheap lawyer. You get what you pay for. And so many of these, well, I'd say all of them, of our Fight the Fines cases, we have such smart fighters, great champions going to bat. No ham and eggers there. And here is our first victory, and I'm so happy. So good on you too, Sheila. So let's go from bow and arrows to another type of weapon. Not a weapon anyone would use other than law enforcement. That's these pepper spray canisters. And, it comes back down to police in Quebec behaving badly. Just check this out, folks.
The SPVM is out of control. This is not the first time that the SPVM have assaulted or mistreated my Rebel News colleague. We are going to sue the SPVM. If you want to help found our lawsuit, go to defendjournalist.com and help found our lawsuit. The SPVM are out of control, and they are going to need a judge to tell them they cannot assault journalists. Go to defendjournalist.com now and chip in. The last 5th of June took place in Montreal, a big protest against the excessive health measure put in place by the current government. Over 10,000 people participated in the protest march. At first, everything was going well and joyfully. Few people carried speakers, were dancing. Why are you here today?
Seulement pour rayonner et vibrer en vibration et en énergie avec toutes ces belles personnes autour de moi.
Pour avoir nos droits et libertés qu'on va perdre. Puis avec la loi 96, c'est assez inquiétant. Le droit de jouir de nos biens en toute quiétude, les procès équitables qu'on va perdre. Je me rappelle pas de tout, là, mais c'est vraiment grave, parce que là, ça, c'est plus juste des décrets, ça va être une loi. Fait que c'est pour ça qu'il faut toujours continuer, il faut pas lâcher le gouvernement. Jamais.
Legault à l'échafaud! Vive les siluriers!
Ça fait en fait au-dessus d'1 an, parce qu'en ce moment, on perd nos droits et libertés fondamentaux en tant qu'être humain. Donc, je suis ici pas juste en fait pour vouloir quelque chose de la manifestation, mais d'être en harmonie et en amour avec tous ceux qui sont normaux, qui pensent en fait avec l'amour et la paix à l'intérieur d'eux.
What made you change your mind about the pandemic and the information propagated by the government?
La corruption. En fait, quand on nous dit de se déshumaniser pour sauver les gens, c'est aberrant. Ils veulent enlever notre humanité. L'humanité, en fait, de se donner de l'affection. Nous sommes des êtres humains, des animaux à la base. On a besoin d'être des êtres sociables. Donc, si on nous enlève ça, on nous enlève le droit d'être humain.
Moi, ça m'avait pris 2 semaines pour me réveiller, pour voir que ça ne marchait pas, juste à cause de la manipulation des masses. Pendant 2 semaines, je voyais que c'était toujours le même narratif. Il y avait un seul point de vue. Puis quand il y a un seul point de vue, ben c'est là que tu peux constater qu'il y a quelque chose qui ne marche pas. Puis il n'y avait aucun débat sur le sujet, contrairement au H1N1 en 2009. Fait que voilà, ça m'a pris 2 semaines.
When all was about to end peacefully in a beautiful park, something alerted the crowd. It's happened that a 10-year-old autistic boy escaped from his mother, who her asked for some help from the policeman securing the event. So as soon as they saw the boy running, they jumped on him to stop him from getting away. But this was immediately interpreted as a deliberate and unjustified act of violence against the boy, and many people rushed on the policeman, which automatically responded by pepper spraying everybody near them. At the same time, me, Alexa, I was covering this event, and I got pepper spray in my face as well without any warning. Everything then quickly degenerated. People ran and shouted in panic. The security guard of the protest, dressed in a military outfit, managed to stop some extremists to assault the policeman. Nevertheless, the situation continued to heat up, and the crowd got bigger and bigger until the policeman decided to back up. Unfortunately, the police has a great inability to manage a crowd. They tend to use force instead of dialogue. Cayenne pepper is a dangerous tool, especially when children are around. Once more, the police were negligent and failed to manage a misunderstanding of the situation coming from the crowd. We are going to sue the SPVM. If you want to help fund our lawsuit, go to defendjournalist.com and help fund our lawsuit. The SPVM are out of control, and they are going to need a judge to tell them they cannot assault journalists. Go to defendjournalist.com now and chip in.
You know, that was hard to watch. Alexa, after she'd been pepper sprayed, sobbing, getting that water in her face. 7 years ago, Sheila, I was pepper sprayed point blank by a thuggish, moronic CN security guard. Let me tell you, when that happens, it feels like your head is literally on fire, like someone's poured gasoline and lit a match. It is so searing, painful. And after you flushed your eyes out and had showers and flushed some more, for days, at least 3 or 4 days later, when you break a sweat, that pepper comes out and goes into your eyes. And again, you're like, constantly in pain, dabbing it out, putting more water on. That was my experience. It lasted for days. It's not like you're getting a little sting and it goes away in 5 minutes. And she, Alexa's right. What happened to dialogue as opposed to force? That was what a 9 or a 10-year-old autistic boy, he was having an event, and look how they responded to it. And then when the people come, not to attack the cops, but to tell them, hey, don't hurt that boy. He has a condition. And what do? They get their silly bicycles in a circle and they reach for the pepper spray. They were in absolutely no danger. If they didn't make that little barrier, if they didn't go for their pepper spray, no one was going to throw a punch. I 100% believe that, Sheila. This was such overreach. And then when Alexa comes in after and says, what are you doing? To pepper spray her point blank? Well, that's media relations when it comes to the Quebec police, I guess, Sheila? They don't believe in dialogue. They are a special kind of bully, a special kind of incompetence based on what I've seen. And wow, I hope we really sue them on this one.
you know, just seeing how haphazard they are with pepper spray. Pepper spray gets everybody, innocent or guilty, within a certain range. So it really shouldn't be something that you reach for just because. But that's what it looked like there. They just reached for the pepper spray just because. They had other ways to deal with whatever they thought was escalating. But to just turn on the pepper spray like it's a fire hose and hit everybody with it, that's insane. But it also makes me think that you guys on the houseboat were pretty lucky that they didn't pepper spray you guys. Because look how quick they were to reach for it.
You know, I never even thought of that, and I'm sure we were a heartbeat away. I mean, well, those were a special group of morons, Sheila. The idea that they could go to a perfectly legal houseboat Airbnb that was 4 people under capacity and think they could get on the houseboat for God knows what reason. I have no idea. Maybe to plant evidence? I wouldn't put it past those thugs with the Montreal Police Service. And the idea that they didn't have a warrant, and I mean, the idea that we wouldn't challenge them on that, it's ridiculous. I guess they're so used to getting their way as being bullies in that city that they don't even play by the rules anymore, Sheila.
Well, and as Alexa puts it, maybe they need to hear it from a judge. Maybe they need to hear a judge say, no, you can't just start blanketing people with pepper spray in a park, in a crowded park. You can't do that. You pepper sprayed a journalist. You tried to storm a houseboat. You illegally detained journalists that day. Maybe you need to hear from a judge what you can and can't do. And I'm only listing 2 things or 3 things that the Montreal police have done to us. But there's so many more when you take into account Mocha, and some of the other team that are out there constantly getting harassed by the Montreal police. So we are going to, hopefully, teach them a little lesson, bring them back under control. And if people want to help us do that, they can go to defendjournalists.com, as Alexa pointed out in her video. Alexa's brand new to the team, but one thing I'm very proud of that we do here at Rebel News is we defend everybody on the team, no matter what. If somebody touches one of our people, sorry, we'll see you in court. And it doesn't matter if it is a random loser, Antifa, or a cop. Sorry, you need to be taught a lesson.
100%, Sheila. And, you know, and by the way, I got to tell you, I can't remember if I mentioned this. Among my charges, plural, going to Montreal that weekend, I was one of the first ones off the houseboat. And a cop came up to me because the houseboat's in the water. And the police, maybe over 20 of them at one point, are observing us from the shore. And he says he wants my ID. And I say, why? He says, I'm giving you a ticket. And I said, why you give me a ticket? He says, well, from the shore, monsieur, I was looking at you and I saw in the houseboat you didn't have your mask on. And I said, officer, I said, officer, your vision is 20/20. You are an eagle-eyed cop, to be sure. Did you also notice in my left hand the big brown McDonald's cup that I was drinking coffee from? And I'll never forget it, Sheila. He said to me, it doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? We know there's exemptions, you know, for eating and drinking. Was I supposed to pour it through the mask and the mask becomes an additional coffee filter en route into my mouth? They are out of control. And like you said, whether you're Antifa or the police. In fact, you know what, Sheila, I'm going to make this point to you, and please weigh in. I think it's even worse for the police to behave badly than Antifa. Because they should be upholding the law. They know the law. They have sworn an oath, and they are weaponized with lethal force. And for them to be so ignorant and belligerent and act like bullies, that makes them worse than Antifa throwing rocks.
Do you know who I would expect to pepper spray, Alexa? Antifa.
Yeah.
Not the cops. And, you know, there should be a little bit more of a distinguishing line between Antifa in Montreal and the cops these days when it comes to how they treat our journalists, but I'm just not seeing it. And as you point out, they've sworn an oath to uphold the law. They are not above the law. And again, let's have them find that out in a court of law.
Yeah, and you know, it was funny when Mocha and I were caught behind enemy lines, so to speak, that Sunday on the weekend when there was a huge peaceful celebration, anti-curfew, and of course the Antifa, the Black Bloc types, the anarchists, they come out never wanting to miss an opportunity and to show their anger to the man, so to speak. The Antifa people were throwing rocks through the windows of small business people who have been devastated by that. They're such idiots. And it dawned on us that you have the riot police on one side who hate us and call us Jew media, and you have Antifa on the other side, and there's Mocha and I in fluorescent press vests. We're like the biggest targets, and that's when Ezra called us and said, get your butts out of there. It kind of reminded me of the tagline of Aliens versus Predator. No matter who wins, we lose, right? It's like there was no safe harbor there for us, and that shouldn't be the way it is. Well, I can understand Antifa. I mean, they're the bad guys, but the police are supposed to be the good guys, Sheila.
Yeah, somewhere between Antifa and the police, the truth lives. And it was you guys that day caught behind enemy lines. The way that we now look at cops, and not all cops, please don't send me letters. I have cops in my family. I know that there are so many good cops out there, but the bad ones are giving them a bad name. And the way that we now view cops and interact with cops has been severely damaged by the actions of these bad cops and the politicians who are forcing the good cops to enforce these bad laws and destroying the relationship and respect that people like me who are pro-cop have with our police force. Yes. And I think it's going to take years to fix it.
I agree with you. We try to back the blue. We've said that on many occasions. There are so many police forces and so many individual cops on police forces that are making it increasingly hard to do so. And folks, as Sheila said, there are good cops. I mean, there's some cops involved with a lawsuit right now, 19 of them, what they're being forced to do is forcing them to break their oaths. And I know that some divisions, it's 50-50. 50% of the cops say, we didn't sign up for this. We didn't sign up to handcuff and arrest and tackle a guy waving a Canadian flag by himself on a street corner. And the other half are, oh no, this is all about safety. This is all about protecting the people during the pandemic. And there's real dissension there. And I don't know what the answer is to that. Hopefully, the righteous, the cops on the right side of this question will prevail. But it's a very dire situation. I understand we have some chat, Sheila.
We do. Just as you were talking there, though, I'm concerned that the opposite is going to happen, that the good side of the police won't prevail. And I think that's because good cops are seeing these bad laws and saying, I can't enforce them. And they're just taking early retirement. They're leaving the force for something else because they are wrestling with their conscience and they think this isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it. Even worse still, their bosses are not really cops anymore, but political bureaucrats and uber woke with their pronouns in their bio the rainbow Avi picture or whatever. And, the good cops just want to keep their community safe and they don't see policing as a way to do that anymore. And so they're leaving and that leaves behind all the bad ones. And so the bad ones take over.
That's a very good point, Sheila. And I would say this to those police officers who are getting off on enforcing these emergency Act rules by arresting people with a Canadian flag or arresting people with a sign denouncing communism or arresting people for quoting biblical passages. You are suffering from an inferiority complex, plain and simple. You are psychologically unfit because if you see that kind of expression of freedom, and there's no safety issue here whatsoever, if you see those kind of expressions of freedom happening and you think it is incumbent upon you to be a bully and to violently arrest people and ticket them, you should not be a cop. You are the very type of person that should not be weaponized with lethal force. And you're right, Sheila, I share your concern. The good ones are going to get more and more exasperated, say, oh, I'm out of here, I can't take this anymore. But hope abounds as always. Hopefully it won't come to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about what the upper echelons of policing is going to look like in 10 or 15 years when all the good ones leave because of this. And who is left to get promoted up the ranks? The bad guys, the worst of the worst, right? The people who really get off on what's happening right now. Okay, let's get through some
bullies.
of these chats.
How do you like that? Woke bullies.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get through some of these chats because Justin mentioned them to me 16 minutes ago. Okay, we've got one from Rumble from MVP 9337. How can anyone not prefer the David Sheila team? You know, there's somebody for everybody at the network, right? If you don't like me, there's Drea, there's Tamara, there's somebody.
And when it comes to live stream, it's because there's the Ezra one-man gang team, and Ezra is the best. I know my place.
Well, you know, and it takes a David and a Sheila to make up for one Ezra Levant. And, you know, we can't even do what he does. We have to do our own thing because only he can do that.
Absolutely.
We've got another Rumble chat from Share21. You guys create a nice balance between you two and Ezra. Shout out to Justin for rolling it out all daily. We've got another Rumble chat from MVP 9337. Media should not receive a single cent from the taxpayer. Truth.
Couldn't agree more. And we work in media, right, Sheila?
Yeah.
You know,
I don't want Justin Trudeau's money. I want him to stop spending my money.
Yeah. We have skin in the game, but we would never accept that money. But our competitors, they don't operate by the same degree of ethics. And that's what it is, Sheila. It's an ethical question. If you are receiving money from a federal government, you're in a conflict of interest position. How do we know you're going to go full on exposure of monkey business of that federal government when they're your financial benefactors? It is an inherent conflict of interest. And once upon a time, you know, this would never be accepted by any credible news organization. And now, as you saw in the front page of all the Post-Media papers yesterday, oh, please, sir, we want more. And they're going to get more.
Oh, for sure. How is it any different than the wife or brother or uncle of a cabinet minister receiving a special contract? How is it any different? You know, you're enriching yourself because of your close ties to the government. And again, my concern is the media is only going to get worse because they are not going to have to do that natural market correction. They're being insulated from it. So people stopped buying what they were selling a long time ago because it's garbage. And instead of them fixing the fact that they are hot garbage, they're taking more money to continue to be hot garbage.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get worse. They're getting funded to be that which caused them to fail.
Oh, it's only going to get worse, Sheila, because with the Justin Trudeau Liberals, if you don't want the carrot, then you're going to get the stick. And by that I mean Bill C-10, when they'll determine what is, I don't know, impolite, insensitive on social media and shut you down that way. So basically the Trudeau Liberals are saying for all the watchdogs out there, you can be lapdogs and have a nice handout, or you can get the whip and be beaten into submission. Wow. This is a democracy we're still in, Sheila. Jeez.
Yeah. Yep. And then everyone's mad because Nigeria canceled Twitter. And it's like, Justin Trudeau's trying to cancel like every independent media outlet in the country. But sure, let's talk about Nigeria. We've got a hyper chat of 5 libraries from Rebelator 2 says, oh, please get serious. Stop laughing. There it is. I'm for some, but I'm not for everyone. Sorry.
Do you know, I won't talk much about it, but I'm actually being charged for laughing by a police force in Canada. I swear to God, I'm not making this up, folks. you'll see the video soon. So
Yeah,
and you
we've
know
got
what?
some video.
I got to tell you, Sheila. You know, maybe they're onto something. Maybe laughing is bad. I mean, I think of, you know, criminals, supervillains, even the Joker, the Riddler. They're always laughing. They're pretty bad.
Yeah, you friends at home, you have to stay tuned for that video. It's crazy. And it's all documented that David's in trouble for laughing. His supervillain name is the Chuckler. And I think we should have Chuckler t-shirts on the Rebel News store team, if you wouldn't mind getting going on that. I mean, it's just insane. You also shook some hands, which is also illegal.
And we'll steal that phrase, Sheila. Why so serious?
I can't even believe it. But then again, I can't because we're not allowed to hug our old people.
I know.
Of course, David Menzies can't laugh in the street.
Yeah, I can't believe. You know, people think we might be pulling their legs. We're not.
We're not.
Stay tuned for this, folks. You're not going to believe it.
It's one of the dumbest things to come out of this pandemic is that David Menzies is on the wrong side of the law because he laughs. Anyway, we've got a Rumble chat from Alberta Separatists. If we are truly in this together, since private sector businesses and entrepreneurs have no pensions or automatic pay raises, none of the public sector leeches that we pay taxes to support should. You know, there was an MLA who is no longer in the UCP caucus, Drew Barnes. He took his 15% pay raise and quarterly he donates it to a charity because the government gave it to themselves during the pandemic. We're all out of work. Everybody's locked down. The government's closing your business, locking you out of your bar, saying you can't even operate a patio. Your gym's closed. And in the meantime, they gave themselves a 15% raise. So Drew Barnes, the raise was odd. He didn't want it. He raised objections to the raise when it was coming. They gave the raise to everybody. So he did the only thing he knew to do, and he's giving it away every quarter to a charity. Because what else can you do?
Good for him. It reminds me, you know, when that other fiasco came to fruition 2 weeks ago, the details of the Air Canada bailout, which included, I think it was over $10 million in bonuses to the senior executives. And there was a talk radio show where the host asked if there's any executives that can phone in and justify why you think you're entitled to a six-figure bonus. Believe it or not, Sheila, the wife of an executive phoned in and she said, my husband did not want this bonus. He refused it. And they said, you have to take it. And what they did in their local community, the bonus was $120,000. So that's his bonus. His salary must be over $500,000 for sure,
Sheila.
At least. You know, if your bonus is $120,000. They subdivided the bonus into 4 payments of $30,000, and they gave it to 4 restaurants that have been really hammered by this pandemic. And that was, I think that's one of the most heartwarming stories that come out of this pandemic. But how dare the people involved in these bailouts say, no, if you're refusing it, you must take it. Like, what could be the reason for that, Sheila?
I don't know. Is it so that if you have objections to the bailout, you can't say them because now you've been tainted? Like you don't have clean hands either. They're dirtying your hands for you.
Good point.
Let's keep going here. We've got another Rumble chat from Rossite. He doesn't get it. Kenny could be an instant rock star like Ron DeSantis if he dropped all the rules and restrictions. Yeah, in a time of the world needing more DeSantises, seems to me we're getting more Cuomos.
Oh, that is so true. But the puzzling thing, Sheila, that I can't understand, because I think Jason Kenney is a smart man, is when you dump on your base, which he's clearly doing, and allegedly saying he wants a new base, and he's catering to the left over and over again. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to, turn off your base so much that they're not going to vote for you. I'm not saying that they're going to vote the other way. They'll just stay at home come election day. The left, guess what, Premier Kenney and Premier Ford, they still hate you. They're not going to come over. They're not going to support you, and that whether it's voters or the media. And that creates the perfect storm for, in your province, I think, Sheila, Rachel Notley 2.0. And he's playing with fire. It just shows you that even smart people can do really stupid things.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you look at the three lowest in popularity premiers right now, it's Pallister and Ford and Kenney. And it's not because all of a sudden all the Liberals and NDPers who voted for them are having some sort of, oh, no, I forgot I'm still a socialist moment and are going back. It's disaffected Conservatives who are fed up because the people they elected are not the Conservatives they thought they were. That's what's happening there. Jason Kenney, he's around 20% right now in popularity.
Wow.
And he's bleeding support to the right, to the independence parties. And a lot of people are saying, I'm just staying home. I can't do it. I'm not a separatist. I'm still a conservative, but Jason Kenney has not earned my vote. And
Sheila,
that's a real problem.
It is. And I think the only way out for him is time. Because now I believe the Alberta election will be 2 years away because it was 2019 when there was regime change there. So 2 years in politics is an eternity, folks. And I think Premier Kenney's only salvation is that when we finally get out of this mess, and Lord knows when that's going to be, that people will have short memories and will forget about all the self-inflicted hardship Premier Kenney has brought upon his province. To me, I think that's the only salvation for him, Sheila.
Yeah, he better pray for short memories and a rebound in the oil price.
Yep.
Because in Alberta, when times are good, we just vote Conservative. That's just how it is. Yeah. And apparently memories are short because there are a lot of people who are saying, well, I could throw my vote back to Rachel Notley. And so that's concerning because, that was 4 years of economic devastation, stripping parents of their rights, stopping free speech, trying to keep Albertans off our own public lands. It was so bad. And that she is now, once again, considered a reasonable choice for centrist sort of people, like free market centrists. We've got a real problem on our hands. And my concern is that Jason Kenney does need time, but he's running out of runway here. And he thinks that we're all going to forget what happened because we're going to have the Calgary Stampede and then it'll all be forgiven. But it's going to be a long time for people like, for example, Justin from Wild Archery to dig out of the hole that the province put him in through no fault of his own.
Exactly. And Sheila, if you told us even a year ago, we'd be having a conversation like this, the specter of another Rachel Notley government in Alberta, because as you know, that was the result of a perfect storm. That was a once in a century occurrence, something we would never again see in our lifetimes. And lo and behold, they might come into power again. I am absolutely astounded.
The thing is, Jason Kenney's having a very quick reopening. So we're already in stage 2. It feels like we just moved into stage 1. Now we're already in stage 2. Stage 3 is hinged to vaccination rates. We'll find out today if we've reached the 70% vaccination rate. I think we're at 67% just a few days ago, and that number's just like flying up. Because again, carrot and the stick, right? The carrot was everybody get vaccinated, we can reopen. And so if we're in and around that 70%, we'll actually be fully reopened within 2 weeks of reaching that 70%. And so the fast reopening might buy Jason Kenney some forgiveness. It's all the other stuff coming out, though, that's a real problem, like Sky Palace. And I saw some reporting that I don't know if I want to lend too much to in the Western Standard last night, given that the UCP threatened the Western Standard with a notice of defamation. So maybe I just won't touch on that today. But even just those Sky Palace images, that's it harkens back to the corrupt PC party of old. And if there's one thing I know about Alberta Conservatives is we don't put up with our own Conservative politicians doing that sort of thing. We'll throw them out faster than we'll throw out the NDP.
Well, I'm so happy you're in stage 2 here in Ontario. We have to wait till the stroke of midnight for our Cinderella moment. That's when outdoor patios can reopen. And just call me Cinderfella. I'm going to look for the first patio I see at 12:01 a.m., sit down like a civilized humanoid and order a sandwich. And I'm not even going to be wearing those ridiculous Groucho Marx nose covering things like those Mexican researchers wanted to do.
That's the best.
So just 11 hours away, I guess, Sheila, and we can enter a bit of stage 1 here in this province. Unbelievable.
We can technically eat inside again today, which is exciting, and some kids' sports, and which, I mean, it's good. It's been raining for like 4 days straight here, and all the patios who are trying to make a living, you can deal with snow in Alberta on a patio because you just sort of brush it
like
off,
dandruff.
right? Like we dress warm, right? Like everybody's got minus 40 clothes in Alberta. So if we're just all bundled up drinking a tankard of beer and trying to stay warm in a blanket, we'll do it. But the rain has been a bit much. And I notice all the local restaurants that I follow on Facebook, they're like, yeah, we're closed again. Yeah, we're closed again. But I think they've made it now today to stage 2 reopening, if it's the 10th, and I think it is.
I'm with you, Sheila. I'll take cold and snow over rain. That's the one big detriment preventing me from ever moving to British Columbia, right, to Vancouver. I mean, it's beautiful and it's temperate, but I don't like being wet all the time. I don't like being rained on all the time. And but they get used to it there. I don't know how it is, but give me a cold, frosty, dry day anytime.
I can't deal with humidity. I have very curly hair, and it's not good. It just shrinks way up, gets really big. I don't know how you guys deal with it in Toronto. It is so dry here normally and great, and I just love it. It's your skin cracks, and it's great because my hair's fine. Okay, let's keep going. We've got a ton of these.
All right.
We've got a Super U shout from Fraser McBurney, Phrasebo. Sunday in Hamilton, we hold a rally with thousands of closed businesses. Why do they not join us? I don't know, Fraser.
Can I add some news to that, Sheila? I went to the anti-lockdown on Sunday in Hamilton, and there was less than 10, I think, protesters there. The police and bylaw had successfully intimidated everybody away because they've been brutal. And last night in my email box, I received from Hamilton Bylaw my ticket for being on I'm not kidding you, for being on the square of City Hall interviewing people.
Were you chuckling?
That might be an extra ticket. So, and you know what kills me, Sheila? These cowards, and by the way, it was one of these bylaw officers that had the gender-specific pronouns, she, her.
Probably with a name like Gary.
And, I know why they emailed it to me, Sheila, which I didn't even know was a thing. Is that actually official? They can email you a ticket now? The thing is, they knew, and they were there hiding in the lockdown City Hall watching us. Obviously, they were watching us because I got this ticket. They knew if they came to us and gave me a paper ticket, I was going to question them. And they didn't want that humiliation.
Yep.
So they just cowardly make a PDF and send the ticket by email. Oh, you cowardly cowards. I know that didn't come out right, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Yeah, they didn't want to ticket you on camera. Like they ticket Efron on camera all the time. And Fraser, just back to your point, as David was talking there, and I generally zone out when he goes off on a soliloquy, I was thinking there's a lot of I'm teasing David.
Juliet.
There's a lot of these businesses who don't want to be on the receiving end of a cancel culture mob because they're at an anti-lockdown protest, and that happens. The people get whipped up in a mob, and they'll go after your business saying you're an anti-masker, you want to kill grandma, all this stuff, and when in your in business, your reputation is everything. And so I understand their fears. They're already hurting financially. And then when they are eventually allowed to reopen, do they, they want to make sure that people will come back to shop from them, and they're concerned about being on the receiving end of a mob.
Yeah, or in the case of Adam Skelly of Adamson Barbecue, we arrest you, send in the mounted unit, and a couple weeks later send you a bill for the law enforcement costs, namely $187,000. That's in addition to all the fines he's receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the COVID Karen mob and there's the government mob. Two mobs you have to deal with.
By the way, when you're out there fighting in a mob, might I suggest you head over to the Rebel News store at rebelnewsstore.com, because when you're out there in the mob, you want to distinguish yourself as not part of the insane people who are trying to shut down businesses. And one of the best ways to do that is to wear some Rebel merch. I like this one because it just says Rebel. It's not
I
the
love
one I
your
have on today.
t-shirt, Sheila.
It's not over the top. People who know, you know what I mean?
Yep.
They know who you are and they know what you stand for. But other people, they just look at you and you're like, that's a free thinker over there. I kind of like her. So rebelnewsstore.com, all of our merch. We've got new t-shirts. We're working on a David Menzies t-shirt, the much requested David Menzies t-shirt. So do keep checking back. We've got a lot of ideas that we're workshopping in a thread there. I need a Fight the Fines shirt. Why don't I have a Fight the Fines shirt? I need one. I'm going to have to order one after we get off the stream here. And this, slow down, Justin, the Save Archer shirt, savearcher.com. For those of you who don't know, and I don't know how you couldn't, we are covering all the legal costs for Pastor Archer Pawlowski in Calgary. And between he and his brother David, they are just in and out of court all the time, dealing with, from the very beginning, lockdown tickets for feeding the homeless, and then enforcement ramped up. Pastor Art was arrested. He was held in jail, he and his brother. And we've got Sarah Miller working on the file from JSS Barristers. She's incredible. I think she was created in a lab to fight fines. It's just crazy how good and smart she is.
Well, that's great. Then we must clone her and have some more, right?
I don't know where she came from, but I know she's going places, and she's just so good. The judge, I listen to court cases all the time, and judges will push back, they'll ask questions, they'll challenge the lawyers, and she's just pulling case law out of thin air, just all over the place. She's so good.
I don't know how she does it.
If you'd like to show your support for Art Pawlowski and his brother and fight the fines, or walk around showing people that, you know what, you're doing your own thinking these days, please go to rebelnewsstore.com. And if you haven't ordered using the Sheila 10 coupon code before, if you use Sheila 10, you'll get 10% off your order.
Gee, I thought for a second there I would have to remind you, Sheila, to make mention of the Sheila 10 coupon, but nope, you rose to the occasion once again. Look at all these wonderful mugs.
I know.
That's something else.
Oh, the Save Archer mug. I also like the Rebel Bitcoin one. I like that one. I saw our lawyer, Chad Williamson, was wearing that t-shirt the other day.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's a true believer too. Let's keep going. We've got a hyper chat of one library from Binga. Thanks for the truthful reporting. By the way, Binga is the name my twin grandsons call me when they first learned to talk. Twin language, I was told. Yeah. Now everybody knows me as the Binga. That's cute. I like that. We've got a Rumble chat. From Canadian National. My father was a soldier for Canada in World War II. He would be shocked how weak Canadians have gotten. We got a shocked, I think is what we're supposed to say there. Super U.
By the way, can I just weigh in on that, Sheila?
Sorry,
because, on Sunday, it was the 77th anniversary of D-Day, the biggest military land and sea and air invasion in the history of mankind. And I was reading stories about it, and there was one that was a 23-year-old, and just imagine, 23, and he is in an airspace with something like 12,000 aircraft, and he's looking down at the boats coming across, the warships coming across from the English Channel, and they're so jammed side to side to side that he made the remark that if I had giant legs, I could walk back to England. It was like a bridge. And just think of it, 23 up in the air, going into fortified enemy territory, putting his life on the line. And I'm thinking with some of the younger people we have today that have a meltdown if you misgender them.
I know.
Where would we recruit from if we ended up into another world war? It's just like, what happened in 77 years?
Oh, I know. And I had to sort of mute my social media during D-Day because there are all those liberals who don't understand what fighting for freedom actually means and entails, saying, oh, these were the original Antifa, fighting fascists.
Oh.
And it's just a gross misunderstanding. I think 2 years ago, maybe it was, Scott Gilmore, who is Catherine McKenna's house husband, he made that remark that, this is what D-Day, this is what the original anti-fascists were. And that's basically implying that today's Antifa who throw, milkshakes with concrete in them at journalists, they're basically all the same thing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Antifa that's a contraction of anti-fascist, but these people are fascists. They're just false.
Oh, for sure.
They were the people we were fighting. They were the fascists. And secondly, Scott Gilmore, his jump the shark moment was when he wrote a column in Maclean's magazine where he argued that Canada is not a real country. That's from about 5 years ago, folks. You can look it up. Yeah, Canada is not a real country, but he works for Maclean's, which I think gets about $2 million in federal government subsidies. So it's kind of odd, isn't it, that we're not a real country, but he'll accept this, form of Canadian Tire money to pay the bills while he's Climate Barbie's house husband. Very odd, isn't it, Sheila?
We're not a real country, but he's getting real cold hard cash to keep producing stuff that people don't like.
That's right.
We've got a Super U shout from Zen AX. Poor David, always getting bullied. Leave David alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I endorse that message.
We got another Super U shout from Stex Stompers. Politicians should donate to fight the fines if they feel it's wrong. Yeah, I'm listening. I'm open to that idea. We've got an Odyssey chat from Dr. D, the non-doctor. Jason is making sure Notley's going to get her job back. I'm afraid so. We've got an Odyssey from Sujan Grant SG. Jason Kenney is not the answer. Notley is not the answer. Wexit via Wild Rose. I'm listening to all options. MVP 9337, they will keep shifting the goalposts like before. I was at a protest at the legislature last night with my friend and colleague, Daniel Day. And that was basically what everybody had to say, that after 16 or 15 months, what are we in? Month 16 of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, right? People could be on their second child conceived during the lockdown, given that, I think about, my sister and I are 16 months apart. You could actually have had 2 babies in the span of the lockdown. And they said, after 16 months of just 2 weeks, just do this, just do that. Oops, we're going to do more of this, less of that. Oh, this freedom's gone, but we'll give it back to you later if you get this and do that and do this. People just don't trust that this lockdown is ever going to end. Doesn't matter the timeline, doesn't matter the goalposts. They think that in the end, it's just the rug is going to continue to be snatched out from under us.
And hey, MVP, what's the significance of 9337? Maybe I should adopt that as my new pick 4 number, Sheila. So if they come up, I can give the OLG a chance again not to pay me.
And what if you don't get it, you're going to ask MVP for money like you do to Justin? Is that what you're going to do?
Don't get me going about Justin. He keeps giving me garbage numbers on purpose to play, and they never win.
You keep playing the garbage numbers. That's not Justin's fault.
But I thought he was on my side, and then he admits later, I never wanted you to win in the first place.
Justin is never on your side.
You know what?
Justin's
I think
on
you're right.
Justin's side.
And he just
Justin's
admitted
always-
that's true.
He's on
Justin, are you
Rebel's
on Sheila's side?
He's on Justin's side.
Oh, he's always on
my
Sheila's side.
side.
So why are you picking favorites here, Justin?
I think that's obvious.
He said something. I don't know if I can repeat it. Go ahead, Sheila. We got some more, I think. Right?
I think it's obvious why I'm the favorite. Anyway, I per chat of 30 libraries. Well, thank you very much from Rebecca Henderson. I think people are forgetting that the CDC purposefully killed Black Americans in the Tuskegee scandal. An apology only came in the 1990s, and it happened in 1932. The Tuskegee scandal lasted 40 years. The CDC is not to be trusted to say things are safe. Noble Canadian just got my Rebel baseball cap in black with just megaphone on it. Thanks, Rebel. Yeah, just the megaphone is also like that little bat signal to all the other Rebels who know.
I love that logo.
And we've got a hyper chat of one library from Celtic Mutt. CelticMutt.redbubble.com. Sheila, don't forget your Meatitarian sticker. I won't. I promise. And I think we are all caught up, and we're 10 minutes after the hour.
All right, then. Well, folks, again, it felt like 10 minutes rather than an hour, thanks to, thanks to you and your lively super chats, which we really appreciate.
Hey, sorry, David, I don't mean to interrupt, but should we go out? Justin, if this is okay, can we go out on Avi's new video after David says his goodbyes and thanks, everybody?
Yes, we can. Yeah. So, and by the way, folks, Avi has been knocking it out of the park with his videos. Of course, then again, the Victoria Police, Sheila, are making it easy for him to knock it out of the park with the way they're behaving badly. You know, we might have to do this, Sheila. Have a contest, even though we're trying to back the blue, but really reach out with a poll. Who is the worst police service? And I mean, right now you've got Victoria, you've got the OPP, you've got Calgary, Montreal, York Regional. There are so many worthy candidates, and but I think, and as you'll see with Avi's video, the front runner, at least tied for 1A and 1B, is Victoria with Montreal. So there we are. We're out of racetrack. So thank you so much, Justin. Thank you to our audience. Thank you to the She-Devil in Northern Alberta. I'm David Menzies. Sheila and I will see you again on Tuesday. In the meantime, stay sane.
You just grabbed me. You didn't ask any questions. You just literally grabbed me. Medical exemption. Where's my apology, mate? You don't even have to show that. Where's my apology?
Justin, can you stay here?
I would like an apology for just being grabbed. That guy over there just grabs me. I had my exemption, had my license. That's it.
Why is your mask in a plastic bag? Are you protecting your mask from the virus?
I need to keep my mask safe. Many masks have met the demise in this epidemic, and I think that we really need to give them a safe burial.
I don't know. But there's nothing funny about the mask enforcement in Melbourne at the moment, as you saw at the beginning of this video. And it's not just police enforcing it anymore. Watch what happened when a random bloke just confronted me while reporting.
Where's your mask? Put it on.
Why are you going? Is your name Karen?
No, mate, because you place it everyone else's health at risk.
So why are you walking up to me? If you're so worried, why are you walking?
You haven't got your mask on. Put your mask on.
Do you know the rules? Why are you walking away, Karen? Somebody can walk up to me who doesn't even know the rules of masks and have a whole, Karen effect on him. The point is, the rules are, when you're working to camera, no mask. But he would know that because he watches the mainstream media that makes it look like if you're not wearing a mask, ironically, the journalists that are always reporting are not wearing a mask at the time, he just doesn't notice that. But they make it out that if you're not wearing a mask, you're putting everyone at risk.
My problem isn't that the fact that Mal Karen doesn't even know the policy he's trying to enforce, because let's be honest, police don't even know the rules. Instead, the issue here is how entitled he feels to walk up to a stranger and enforce these draconian laws. Gosh, it's bad enough when law enforcement gets it so wrong.
And do I need to wear a mask?
Not while you're talking on camera.
Oh, so can I just get that apology on camera?
Well, all I'm saying is...
Can I get that apology? Because what you just did to me and
I've given you a direction.
And can you say sorry? Say one word. Say sorry.
I've given you the...
Say sorry.
From the legal
Say
department.
sorry. It's one word. You were wrong. I was wrong.
Thank you. You can wear your mask.
Say sorry.
You can
Say sorry.
Without wearing a mask.
There you go. They'll never admit. That's why we're in the Supreme Court. StandWithAvi.com. That's why we're suing them. It's crazy time.